Welcome to Global Bites, where history comes alive. Today, we journey back to the dawn of civilization, to Mesopotamia, the ancient land between the Tigris and Euphrates, where humanity took its very first steps toward building the world we know today. The birth of civilization. Long before the rise of empires, long before kings inscribed their names on clay tablets, there was a land between two great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, where humanity first began to shape the course of civilization. This land, known as Mesopotamia, was at once generous and unforgiving. Its fertile soil allowed crops to flourish, yet its rivers could overflow unpredictably, reshaping the landscape and testing the ingenuity of those who lived along its banks. Here, humanity learned the fundamental lessons of survival and cooperation. Small communities banded together, discovering how to cultivate the land, manage water, and protect one another. Families became villages, villages became towns, and towns grew into cities, the first urban centers in human history. With this growth came the need for organization, governance, and systems to record and transmit knowledge. It was in Mesopotamia that humans first learned not just to live, but to build, to measure, to calculate, and to dream. The rivers themselves were lifelines and teachers. The Tigris and Euphrates brought nourishment, trade, and communication, yet they demanded careful attention. Canals, dikes, and irrigation systems were constructed, revealing the earliest engineering feats of human history. People observed the stars, noted the passage of seasons, and devised calendars to predict floods and guide planting cycles. In these simple yet profound acts, humanity began to harness nature with intelligence, foresight, and skill. Religion and belief were inseparable from daily life. Early humans saw the forces of nature as expressions of divine power. Temples and shrines rose in the earliest cities, serving as centers of worship, learning, and community gathering. Priests interpreted omens, offered guidance, and preserved the collective wisdom of generations. Humanity's first civilizations were as much spiritual as they were practical, intertwining survival, knowledge, and devotion. Writing emerged as the most revolutionary tool of all. From tokens to symbols pressed into clay, humans discovered a way to record transactions, stories, laws, and observations. The written word allowed knowledge to endure beyond memory, to be shared across distances, and to survive the ravages of time. Civilization itself began to flow from these first inscriptions, linking generations through language, law, and literature. Mesopotamia's early cities were laboratories of human potential. In Eridu, Uruk, and Lagish, humans experimented with social organization, technology, art, and governance. They discovered that collective effort could produce stability, growth, and creativity far beyond what isolated families or villages could achieve. These first steps into organized life were fragile yet monumental. This prologue is the story of humanity taking its first bold stride from survival towards civilization. It is a story of rivers and fields, of temples and palaces, of the first laws, the first writings, and the first dreams. It is the story of people who, thousands of years ago, looked at the world and decided not just to live in it, but to shape it, to build a legacy that would echo across time. The birth of civilization in Mesopotamia set the stage for the rise of cities, empires, scholars, warriors, and artists. It is here that human ambition first met human ingenuity, and the first chapter of our shared history was written in clay, stone, and memory. The dawn of cities. Long before kings and empires, humanity took its first tentative steps toward organized society in the fertile plains of Mesopotamia. The lands between the Tigris and Euphrates were lush and abundant, yet unpredictable, their rivers prone to sudden floods that could both nourish and destroy. Villages emerged near the riverbanks, where families cultivated barley and wheat, tended flocks of sheep and goats, and fished in the flowing waters. Life was measured by the seasons, sowing in the cool of spring, tending crops in the summer, harvesting in autumn, and surviving the chill of winter. People built reed huts with thatched roofs, simple structures that could be repaired and replaced easily. They discovered early forms of cooking and storage, creating clay pots to hold grain and water, weaving baskets to carry fruits and harvests, and shaping simple tools from wood, stone, and bone. These early villagers shared responsibilities, pooling labor to construct small canals, reservoirs, and levees to manage the river's moods. Knowledge was passed orally from elders to youth, teaching farming techniques, counting, and basic laws of social conduct. Villages were small but resilient, their survival rooted in cooperation, adaptability, and an intimate connection to the land and the water that sustained them. As centuries passed, some villages grew into towns. Among the earliest was Uruk, a city that would become legendary. Here, walls enclosed streets, homes, workshops, and monumental temples. Urban life was complex. Merchants traded goods in busy marketplaces, potters spun clay on wheels, metalworkers forged tools and ornaments, and scribes recorded transactions on clay tablets. Priests conducted elaborate ceremonies to honor the gods, interpreting divine will, advising rulers, and guiding festivals. Rulers oversaw the welfare of citizens, ensuring the city's defense, growth, and prosperity. It was in Uruk that humanity first discovered writing, not merely as a tool for trade, but as a way to preserve memory. Clay tokens evolved into symbols pressed onto wet clay, forming the earliest cuneiform script. Scribes trained for years, learning to capture ideas, events, and stories in a permanent form. Initially used for accounting, writing soon recorded myths, laws, prayers, and astronomical observations, ensuring that knowledge could survive the ravages of time and be passed from generation to generation. Writing became civilization's lifeblood, a bridge between the fleeting present and a lasting future. Religion was central to life in the first cities. The ziggurat, a monumental step temple, towered above homes and workshops, symbolizing the connection between earth and the divine. Priests held considerable power, predicting floods, guiding rulers, and performing rituals to appease gods who controlled nature and destiny. Festivals were moments of unity and joy. Citizens danced, sang, and offered gifts to the gods, celebrating seasonal changes, agricultural abundance, and divine protection. Life was infused with purpose, order, and devotion, and the divine was woven into every aspect of daily life. Trade and commerce thrived alongside agriculture. Markets overflowed with barley, pottery, textiles, and livestock. The rivers acted as highways for goods and ideas, connecting cities and villages across the plains. Merchants brought exotic materials from distant lands, copper from Anatolia, timber from the northern mountains, and lapis lazuli from faraway Afghanistan. With trade came wealth, cultural exchange, and the dissemination of technology, stories, and innovations. The first networks of human civilization were emerging, linking communities in ways that would shape the course of history. With prosperity came the need for governance and protection. City walls rose to defend against rival towns and raiders. Leaders, initially councils of elders and later kings, established laws, organized labor, and oversaw infrastructure. Social hierarchies developed. Priests and rulers wielded authority, artisans and merchants enriched culture and economy, farmers fed the population, and soldiers safeguarded the community. Governance was both pragmatic and symbolic, ensuring survival while shaping the identity of the city. The cities of Eridu and Lagash exemplified the fusion of religion, law, and technology. Eridu's temple managed elaborate irrigation systems that fed thousands, supporting growing populations and sustaining urban life. Lagash codified some of the earliest written laws, regulating trade, property, justice, and social conduct. Artisans and musicians flourished, producing pottery, sculptures, jewelry, music, and storytelling that enriched culture alongside administrative and technological innovation. These cities were microcosms of civilization, organized, creative, and enduring. By the end of this era, humanity had laid the foundations of civilization itself. Villages had become towns, towns had become cities, and cities had become centers of culture, trade, religion, and governance. Along the Tigris and Euphrates, the first urban societies demonstrated what collective human effort, intelligence, and creativity could achieve, setting the stage for the empires, scholars, and warriors that would shape history for millennia. The empire builders. From the thriving cities of Sumer rose leaders whose ambitions reached far beyond their own walls. These were the empire builders, kings and conquerors who sought to unite city-states, control rivers, and extend influence across vast lands. Mesopotamia became the stage for the first great empires in human history, where ambition, intelligence, and creativity intertwined to forge enduring legacies. The Akkadian Empire, under the legendary Sargon of Akkad, marked a turning point in human civilization. Sargon, born into humble origins, rose to power through vision, cunning, and determination. He dreamed of uniting the independent city-states of Sumer under one rule, forging the world's first empire. His strategy combined diplomacy with military might. Some cities were persuaded to join willingly, while others were subdued through careful planning and relentless campaigns. Sargon's empire stretched from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean, encompassing diverse peoples and cultures. Governing such a vast territory required innovation. Governors were appointed to oversee provinces, scribes meticulously recorded taxes, trade, and military campaigns, and standardized systems of weights, measures, and currency facilitated commerce and administration. Roads connected distant cities, enabling swift communication and the movement of armies and goods. Knowledge and governance flowed as systematically as the rivers that nourished the land. After the Akkadians, Babylon rose to prominence, a city of grandeur, learning, and ambition. Under the rule of Hammurabi, Babylon became the political and cultural heart of Mesopotamia. Hammurabi is best remembered for codifying the laws of his land, creating the Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest comprehensive legal systems in human history. These laws address trade, property rights, family matters, and justice, aiming to provide order, fairness, and stability to a growing society. Justice was not abstract. It was tangible, enforced by judges, and witnessed by citizens who saw the king as both protector and lawgiver. Babylon was also a marvel of architecture, with massive walls, monumental gates, towering ziggurats, and sprawling palaces. The legendary Hanging Gardens, with their lush terraces and flowing water, symbolized human ingenuity, imagination, and the desire to shape the natural world. Beyond architecture, Babylon thrived as a hub of knowledge. Scholars studied astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and literature. Libraries and schools preserved ancient wisdom, ensuring that the insights of one generation could benefit the next. The Assyrian Empire brought military discipline and administrative sophistication to unprecedented levels. Cities like Nineveh were heavily fortified and organized with barracks, marketplaces, and libraries. Assyrian kings built expansive road networks, facilitating communication, trade, and troop movements. They collected thousands of clay tablets, preserving history, literature, religious texts, and scientific records, creating a legacy of knowledge that would endure for centuries. Assyrian military power was formidable. Soldiers trained rigorously in the use of bronze and iron weapons, archery, and chariot warfare. Fortifications, siege engines, and strategic planning ensured that the empire could expand and defend itself efficiently. Campaigns were planned with military intelligence and logistical precision. Couriers and river messengers relayed instructions across vast distances, allowing kings to maintain control over remote territories. Conquest was matched with governance. Conquered peoples were integrated into the empire, contributing resources, knowledge, and labor. Trade and diplomacy complemented military dominance. Caravans traversed deserts and rivers, exchanging grain, textiles, metals, and precious stones. Envoys carried gifts and forged alliances, while cultural exchange flourished along trade routes. Mesopotamia became a hub of commerce, knowledge, and diplomacy, linking cities, regions, and peoples in a network of interdependence. Empire builders recognized the critical role of knowledge. Astronomers mapped the skies to predict seasons, floods, and religious festivals. Mathematicians developed precise systems for measuring land, constructing canals, and calculating trade. Artisans produced statues, reliefs, jewelry, and elaborate temple decorations, celebrating kings, gods, and epic tales. Literature, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, preserved human thought, history, and philosophy, ensuring that civilization was not only powerful but also wise. The achievements of Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians left an enduring legacy. Roads, laws, literature, monumental architecture, and scientific observation became blueprints for future civilizations. Human ambition, creativity, and intellectual rigor combined to shape a world that would influence cultures far beyond Mesopotamia. These empire builders demonstrated that civilization depended on more than conquest. It required vision, governance, culture, and knowledge working in harmony. Even after the empires fell, their innovations endured. Roads guided travelers and merchants for centuries, legal systems influenced later codes. Libraries preserved knowledge that inspired scholars long after the city gates had crumbled, and monumental architecture continued to awe and inspire. Mesopotamia's empire builders showed that true power lay not just in armies and territory, but in the enduring ideas, structures, and culture they left behind, a legacy that echoes across the millennia. The warriors and scholars. As empires grew, Mesopotamia became a land of dual forces, war and wisdom. Cities needed warriors to defend their walls, conquer rivals, and maintain order, but they also required scholars, scribes, and priests to guide civilization, preserve knowledge, and interpret the divine will. This era saw the coexistence of military power and intellectual achievement, each complementing the other in the evolution of society. Assyrian warriors became renowned for their discipline, organization, and technological advances in warfare. Infantry, cavalry, and chariot units were trained meticulously. Fortifications and siege engines allowed armies to protect cities and expand territories. Campaigns were carefully planned, combining strategy, logistics, and intelligence, reflecting the sophisticated military thinking of the time. Soldiers were not only defenders, but instruments of empire, shaping the political landscape with every conquest. Simultaneously, scholars thrived in Mesopotamia's cities. Libraries and scriptoria preserved vast collections of clay tablets, detailing laws, trade, astronomy, medicine, and literature. Scribes trained for years to master cuneiform, recording transactions, treaties, religious texts, and epic narratives. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's earliest great works of literature, explored themes of friendship, mortality, and the pursuit of immortality, reflecting humanity's enduring questions and philosophical depth. Astronomers mapped the stars to predict agricultural cycles and seasonal changes. Mathematicians developed systems for measuring land, constructing canals, and calculating trade. Medicine advanced through careful observation, treatments, and herbal remedies recorded for future generations. Knowledge was systematically preserved and disseminated, ensuring continuity even as empires rose and fell. Religious and ceremonial life intertwined with scholarship. Priests and diviners interpreted omens, conducted rituals, and advised rulers. Temples served as centers for learning, science, and administration. Education was a path to influence and service, creating a learned class that guided society and maintained cultural memory. Mesopotamian cities became hubs of intellectual exchange. Scholars from different regions shared insights, traders carried news and innovations along trade routes, and scribes ensured that knowledge was recorded in durable clay. Through this meticulous preservation, the achievements of warriors and scholars were immortalized, leaving a legacy that informed later civilizations. The combined force of military and intellectual prowess shaped Mesopotamia into a civilization that valued both conquest and contemplation. The lessons of strategy, governance, science, literature, and law became intertwined, demonstrating that human progress depended on both strength and wisdom. This balance allowed Mesopotamia to influence subsequent cultures, leaving enduring marks on law, literature, architecture, and knowledge that echo through the ages. The Golden Twilight. The twilight of Mesopotamian civilization was not marked by sudden collapse, but by a period of remarkable cultural, scientific, and artistic flourishing. Cities reached unprecedented heights, blending architecture, literature, law, and knowledge into a golden age that would inspire future generations. Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar became a shining example of grandeur. Palaces and ziggurats rose skyward, adorned with intricate reliefs, glazed bricks, and vivid depictions of gods, kings, and mythical creatures. The Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, combined architectural ingenuity with horticultural beauty, symbolizing human ambition and creativity. Urban planning ensured that water, roads, and markets supported the growing population efficiently, reflecting the sophistication of Mesopotamian engineering and civic design. Despite these achievements, political fragmentation and external pressures began to challenge Mesopotamia's stability. Rival kingdoms, nomadic incursions, and internal disputes weakened city-states, yet the achievements of this period endured. Art, literature, and science had matured to such a degree that their legacy would outlast political decline. The wisdom of scholars, the precision of engineers, and the creativity of artisans became timeless contributions to human civilization. In this golden twilight, Mesopotamia demonstrated that civilization is not solely measured by power or conquest, but by the depth and richness of culture, knowledge, and human expression. The cities may have faced decline, but the legacy of this era, the art, architecture, literature, science, and organized society, continued to influence successive generations, preserving the brilliance of Mesopotamia's achievements in the annals of history. Rediscovery and legacy. As centuries passed, the once mighty empires of Mesopotamia gradually declined. Internal strife, invasions by foreign powers, and shifting trade routes fragmented the political landscape. The grandeur of Babylon, the military might of Assyria, and the administrative genius of Akkad faded under the pressure of time. Cities were abandoned, palaces crumbled, and monumental ziggurats fell into ruin. Yet even in decline, the achievements of Mesopotamia remained etched into history. Rediscovery of these civilizations came centuries later through archaeology and scholarship. Excavations at Ur, Uruk, Nineveh, and Babylon revealed city plans, palaces, temples, and libraries. Scholars deciphered cuneiform, unlocking histories, laws, myths, and scientific texts. The world marveled at the ingenuity of ancient Mesopotamians and their profound influence on subsequent cultures. Their innovations in writing, governance, trade, mathematics, and literature provided foundations upon which later civilizations, Greek, Roman, and beyond, built their own societies. Mesopotamia's legacy is enduring. Its first cities, empires, and scholarship laid the groundwork for urban life, law, literature, and science. The dual forces of ambition and intellect, war and wisdom, survival and creativity, shaped a civilization whose echoes can still be felt today. Rivers, once lifelines for early farmers, carried ideas that flowed across time and space, influencing generations long after the last ziggurat crumbled. Echoes across time. Looking back at Mesopotamia, one sees not merely ruins and artifacts, but the birth of civilization itself. The people of this land demonstrated the power of human ingenuity, resilience, and imagination. They transformed survival into creativity, necessity into invention, and experience into knowledge. Each canal dug, each tablet inscribed, each temple raised was a step toward shaping human history. The rivers may have shifted, empires may have fallen, and cities may have faded, but the lessons of Mesopotamia remain. Civilization depends on collaboration, innovation, and the preservation of knowledge. Culture, law, literature, and science, first nurtured along the Tigris and Euphrates, continue to influence the modern world. Mesopotamia taught humanity that while power is transient, ideas endure. From the first village huts to the grandeur of Babylonian palaces, from cuneiform tablets to epic tales, Mesopotamia's story is a testament to the human spirit. It is a story of vision, ambition, and creativity, a legacy of endurance that echoes across time, reminding us that the cradle of civilization is not only a place in history, but a foundation for all humanity. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to Global Bytes for such knowledgeable videos.